A rare win for Prince Harry in his battle against the Home Office to get taxpayer-funded bodyguards.
And I reveal why I have developed a soft spot for Meghan Markle. Let me throw in a third element, which has come in since doing this podcast, which is the interviews we've done regarding Andrew and Fergie.
Yes.
The way in which they have lived in that magnificent big house for so long.
Yes.
Again, it raises the questions, why are they given carte blanche? And for a long time, he was disgraced because of his Epstein links for a long time.
Yeah.
This did not happen overnight. For a long time, he was kept going by the royals until very recently. So I have to ask the question, why is that kind of tolerance not shown towards Harry and Meghan?
Following on from the success of your Jamie Kern-Lima impression, Tim, that I think has gone viral.
Yeah.
Quite rightly, by the way. Comedy moment of the year. Should we talk about Harry and Meghan?
Yes, let's do that. Yeah.
You've gone soft, apparently. Something's happened
Something's
between
melted
last
in
week
me.
and this week, and suddenly you've gone soft.
Well, I'll explain what it is in a moment, but let's first acknowledge a win for Team Sussex, which is that Harry has just won a Home Office review of the decision to strip him of his automatic right to protection.
Yes.
So the Home Office is going to think about it again.
It's going to carry out a risk assessment, which is the kind of thing that Home Offices do, isn't it?
Yes, it just suggests a pencil and a clipboard, doesn't it?
If in doubt.
And asking him to carry a ladder around
Exactly.
the office. The Duke of Sussex last brought Meghan and their 2 children to the UK in June 2022, but now says it's not safe for him to bring them. And he lost a 3-year legal battle for taxpayer-funded security in May, something which he called an establishment stitch-up.
Well, it wasn't really, was it? They came for the Platinum Jubilee. The argument against Harry's position that he must have taxpayer-funded bodyguards whenever he arrives in the UK, the argument against that is, well, no, hang on a minute. If you come for a major royal occasion, you're going to be enveloped into the security for the whole thing, which is what happened for the Platinum Jubilee. If you're going to come as an individual, as he did in the past, coming to attend court cases and such like, there was one moment where he appeared to compromise his own security by knocking on a random door. I think it was in Fulham, and seeing if a mate still lived there. And people are going, well, hang on a minute. You know, you've made this massive play that you need more security, and you seem to be quite cavalier with your own security. Then he comes out with Spare, where he reveals, goodness knows why, that he's killed 25 Taliban. That's how specific he was, Tim. I mean, that's going to put a target on your back, if anything is. And to be fair, if you have made yourself a more of a target than you once were, then any argument about the stupidity of that should be negated by, look, is he more at risk? We must protect him.
At present, if he does want to come, he can come. Nothing to stop him from coming, right?
No.
But he has to ring ahead.
Yeah, give them a ring.
30 days in advance and tell the Met Police he's going to come. And this results in a bespoke security arrangement, which in the past has been quite light. It's not been, as he regards it, big enough to protect him, his wife, and their children.
I once heard that they were spending an astronomical sum. I think it was $200,000 a month. By the way, that was just anecdotal. Somebody was trying to tot up, for the purpose of a story, how much security they had out in Montecito. And that it was just using a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Right.
If you think about them in the kind of sphere of LA A-listers, they're quite far down the pecking order now. Now, I appreciate, because he's a blood-born prince and because of his service in Afghanistan, that it does make him a bit of a special case. But the idea that you need any greater protection in Montecito than, say, Ellen DeGeneres or Oprah Winfrey, who lives down the road, some people argue is for the birds. The other suspicion in royal circles, Tim, that I sometimes frequent, was that he was using the Home Office row as an excuse for Meghan not to come to the UK.
Right.
Now, why might Meghan not want to come to the UK? First of all, she doesn't really like the royal family, accused them of racism / unconscious bias, and said that they were treated badly. She had her passport confiscated and was driven to the brink of a mental health crisis. A less generous interpretation of her unwillingness to return to Blighty might be because she fears being booed.
Right.
I don't know whether that would necessarily happen, not least if they were with their children. In fact,
No,
can I just say
don't
now,
think
I
that would
really
happen.
hope not, because
No.
that would be a very uncharitable way to receive them back into the UK.
No.
But that's also in the background of all this.
She may have also heard about all the iPhone theft.
Yes, and if she's got a Rolex, in fact, I believe she has a Cartier watch, it may be wrenched from her wrist somewhere near
Did you
Mayfair.
see that diamond on her hand in the Christmas video? When he last had an assessment like this, it was in 2019, I believe. It was last reviewed.
Yes.
And he had protection that was equivalent to the Prime Minister or the Queen.
Yes.
Now, the argument against him getting protection really boils down to you're no longer of the same stature of the Prime Minister and the Queen.
No.
You're no longer a royal. And there are some who want to deny him protection, not just because they're being penny pinching, but because they feel this is like a backdoor way of Harry coming here and being treated like royalty and us all acting as though he's royalty without
Yes.
him really being so.
He thinks, I think, that it's part of a kind of establishment stitch-up stroke punishment, that it's vengeful
Yes.
in some regard.
Yes.
The other problem,
by
of
making
course...
it physically impossible to visit
Yeah,
him
yeah,
in this
he can't
country
come back to see
because
his
there'll be no
dad.
one running alongside the limousine in a black suit and a pair of sunglasses.
Indeed. Although he did come back to see his dad and they had tea together
Right.
when he was most recently here
Right.
for an award ceremony. So he has managed to wangle it. But again, that was him flying solo.
Yeah.
He's worried about the family unit. And as a father of young children
That's understandable.
with a high-profile wife, I do have some sympathy with that argument.
Yes.
The other thing we need to take into account here is he had offered to pay for his own non-taxpayer funded but police bodyguards. He had said, OK, if you don't want to subsidise this as the state, and I can understand that because I'm no longer a fully fledged working royal, I get that, but just let me pay for Met-trained officers who carry guns to look after me while I'm here.
Okay.
And no, the Home Office said, well, no, hang on a minute, we're not guns for hire. If you start requesting that kind of treatment, anytime a member of Saudi or other royalty comes into the country, or indeed Taylor Swift or Tom Cruise,
They can hire the Met.
they'll be asking, the Met are not for hire. It was,
Yes.
There's always been this blurring of the lines for the Sussexes between their official role and their private lives. I mean, what are they coming over for that they might request? If they're just coming over to meet up with a few old friends from Windsor and have a knees
exactly.
up at the local pub.
Whereas, as to go back to what you said earlier, if they're here for a royal event which is appropriate to them, then they're going to have maximum security anyway.
Exactly.
But if he wanted to find some off-duty police officers to hire in large numbers, just go to a gay pride rally.
Yeah, or a
Hundreds of
pro-Palestinian
them.
march.
There you go.
Because they're not actually busy policing the march, and they might be
They've got nothing else to
they
do.
might be free to help him out.
But why am I more sympathetic than I was towards Harry and Meghan? It's since doing this podcast with you, Camilla.
Oh, what? I've forced you into a
No, not in violent reaction, but rather because of the different stories and people we've interviewed and the insight they've offered into life as a royal. And I think it sounds pretty rotten.
Yes.
So I want to pick up on two things. One is the people we've interviewed about the Martin Bashir interview of Diana.
Yes.
And this is at the back of Harry's mind all the time. People conspired to drive my mother mad, to
Yes.
leave her dangerously exposed to the point where she was killed in the course of a paparazzi chasing her. That's not why she
Yeah.
died, but in the course of being pursued by the
Well,
press.
we interviewed Andy Webb, who's written a book called Diana Rama,
Yeah.
exposing the scandal. And then we spoke to her former private secretary, Patrick Jeffson. And to be fair, of course, they can't say the BBC killed Diana. But what they're saying is that that Panorama interview in 1995 set in course a chain of events that led to her being unprotected in Paris.
Yeah, and having spoken to those people, I now have a better appreciation of the paranoia that must run through Harry's mind every single day, and the anger that he must have towards this British establishment that, as far as he's concerned, failed to protect him. Drove his mother mad and then failed to protect her. And the second thing is the interview we did with Norman Baker about the costs of the royal family. Given the sheer amount of money currently flooding in from the Crown lands, can a bit of it not be spared for Harry and Meghan?
Well, yes, I think the answer to
Yeah.
that question is.
They're doing very, very well. And I
Yes.
don't understand why, say, the King couldn't just say,
Well-
we will provide this maximum security service for
But then I did the podcast with Robert Jobson, who'd written a book about the Windsor legacy, and he made the point that one of the reasons why there was a wedge between him and his father and his grandmother, the late Queen, was because Harry and Meghan kept on asking for more and more money.
Right.
It was like the bank of royal mum and dad and granny.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that
But-
they
but, yeah.
resented the constant requests and were sort of asking themselves, well, all you're giving us in return is a load of grief, actually.
Yeah.
You're spilling your heart out to Oprah Winfrey. You're moaning on Netflix about, having to curtsy.
Yeah. But
You've-
okay,
You've just
okay.
written a book where you've dumped all over us. And by the way, guys, newsflash, you're earning a great amount of money to
Yes.
do all of these different tie-ups with
Netflix
publishers
specials.
and streamers and all the rest of it.
Yes.
They're not short of a few, Bob.
They're not. But let me throw in a third element,
Oh.
which has come in since doing this podcast, which is the interviews we've done regarding Andrew and Fergie. The way in which they have lived in that magnificent big house for so long
Yes.
Again, it raises the questions, why are they given carte blanche? And for a long time, he was disgraced because of his Epstein links for a long time.
Yeah.
This did not happen overnight. For a long time, he was kept going by the royals until very recently. So I have to ask the question, why is that kind of tolerance not shown towards Harry and Meghan?
There's been a double standard because the way that Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have operated has been much more shadowy and opaque than the way Harry and Meghan have basically said, well, you can see how we're now financially independent from the monarchy because we're literally on your screens.
Yeah.
We're doing partnerships with companies, we're doing podcasts.
Yeah.
She's becoming the next Martha Stewart in her own mind, and good luck with that. Well, she's selling jam and things, I think she's probably making good money.
Yes.
Can I just say, I'm going to just have a little moment of agreement with you that I have become more sympathetic with Meghan over the weekend.
Yes.
Having read on the front page of the Mail on Sunday her father's, Thomas Markle's, plea to see his daughter after he had a leg amputated. Now, I remember, if you go all the way back, bear in mind I was covering the royals at the time, both for a newspaper and indeed the US network NBC. So I went to every different press conference that we had. And back in 2018, after he had popped the question, it was made very clear that Thomas Markle was going to walk his daughter down the aisle. She had spent a great deal of her teenage life living with him, not with her mother Doria. Obviously, we then have that whole hullabaloo where he's being measured up for suits, and it's in the Mail on Sunday. He's been papped, and they feel that he's sold out. And then he has a heart problem, and he's suddenly in hospital, and then he can't come to the wedding, and she has to ask the king to walk her down the aisle. And I did get told at the time, this couple, on the brink of the second biggest royal wedding of this century, were nearly having a nervous breakdown and in tears most of the time, So they had a horrible, horrible experience.
And she had to be taken down the aisle by the future king.
Yes, exactly. Which was a nice thing to do. And
Lovely thing to do, yes.
But and at the time I thought, who is this Thomas Markle? Is he just a bit misguided? He kept on being packed with like a six-pack and a burger. And I just thought, look, maybe he's on his downers. But then he kept on speaking more and more and more to the press, to the point that we're now in a situation where he's literally just had his leg amputated. And the first person he wants to call is Caroline Graham, a reporter on the Mail on Sunday. They featured on Sunday the exchange of text messages between them. They're in the hospital room. He's then trying to communicate with Meghan via that newspaper that the couple hate. They don't like the Mail group because of everything that they've written about them. Try to take them to court on numerous occasions. We know, being in the trade, that celebrities and other high net worth individuals like nothing less than disloyalty and indiscretion among their closest circle.
Yes.
I can't name names for legal reasons, but quite a few times you would discover...
And it doesn't get closer than a father.
Well, quite a few times you would discover on stories, particularly showbiz, that they'd been sold to you by relatives.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Charlotte Church famously had some experience with this and spoke about it.
Yes.
So...
And this is a man, I should also add, who's been living in the Philippines for a year.
Yeah.
And poor Meghan didn't even know which hospital he was in, so took to ringing around all the hospitals in that area in a bid to get in touch with him.
Having said that, you could then say, I mean, actually, it's hard, isn't it? We've had this whole dialogue about the royal family and Harry's relationship with his father and his brother. Then obviously we're also making judgments about her and her lack of contact with her father. Then we've had her half-siblings, Thomas Markle and Samantha. They've sold stories. They've gone on the telly absolutely roasting Meghan, criticising her. So if you were the Duchess of Sussex, you might be wary of trying to get back in contact.
What I've learned from doing these podcasts about royalty is that if you are on the path to the throne, then everything's laid out for you and everything's super disciplined and controlled, and you more or less know what you have to do. If at any point you fall off that train because a new heir has been produced, in the case of Harry, or has happened to Andrew as well, it's not clear what you do.
No.
If you have a strong personality like Princess Anne, who I note continues to be rated as one of people's favourite royals, people really respect her. And she's had difficulties in her private life too. She's had a divorce and a remarriage.
Yes.
But nonetheless, people respect her. If you've got that kind of steely determination, you can kind of get back on the train and find a role for yourself.
Yes.
But it's not like Harry and Meghan are the first people in history to fall off that train and go a bit woo-woo.
Yeah.
Because Andrew and Fergie, I feel I'm just discovering, have been doing this for about 20 years.
Yes, that's right.
So
there's a
just
path.
not been noticed.
No, you're quite right. There's a path to the throne that is set out literally from birth. And then for the spares, they've basically been left to it. And if you're a diligent spare, a royal trooper like Anne, that goes very well for you.
You find things to do.
If you're not, if you're like the Grand Old Duke of York, the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, and you can't stay on that path, it's tricky. And equally, if you're Harry and you marry an American that knows her own mind and wants you to actually go off and make shed loads of cash over in the States, then that's also problematic. And by the way, the other dilemma they constantly have is their commitment to their immediate family versus their commitment to the family firm, capital F.
Yes.
And that's been problematic for basically any royal in history.
I'm just, having said all of that and expressed all that sympathy, I feel they could have walked away from this with a little more dignity.
Yes.
I don't think it had to explode, and I don't think it had to have all that Californian nonsense about, I felt endangered.
No. Well,
I don't understand why they couldn't have just said, you know what, we have decided we're done with being royal. We're fine. We're moving on from that. You go ahead and do it. You're doing a great job. We'll just go and make some Netflix documentaries and we'll see you once a year for Christmas.
They did a kind of throwing grenade exit.
Yeah.
Like, just leave bodies in the street and go off.
Yes.
And what they could have done is just had a bit more respect, actually, ironically, for the privacy of their loved ones.
Yes.
Because what they did, immortalised by South Park, the global privacy tour, is they started having a go at the media for invading their own privacy, and yet they produced in Netflix and Oprah and Spare the biggest invasion of royal privacy we've ever witnessed.
Exactly.
If you're enjoying our journalism, why not sign up to From the Editor, our free email newsletter? Start your day with the latest news and opinion, plus our bite-sized puzzles. Scan the QR code to sign up free today.